Welcome to Monk's Moon Temple. Find a place of comfort, and allow the day's momentum to slow. Let your awareness settle gently here, in this space between words. There is nowhere to travel, nothing to accomplish. Simply listen. We are beginning a quiet exploration of one of the most misunderstood truths ever offered to the human heart. It is not a truth of darkness, but of profound clarity, a map for a freedom that has echoed for thousands of years. The journey begins with a single word, dukkha. You may have heard it called suffering. You may have heard the phrase, life is suffering. And if you have ever known a moment of pure joy, felt the warmth of connection, or been struck by beauty, a part of you likely resisted. No, it might have said. That cannot be all there is. That resistance is not an error. It is your wisdom speaking. It is the very starting point the Buddha intended. For the Buddha was not a prophet of doom, but a compassionate guide. He was like a doctor who, before offering a cure, must first accurately name the illness. His first noble truth is not a judgment, but an invitation to see clearly the landscape we all inhabit. Dukkha is that name. But to translate it only as suffering is to mistake an ocean for a single wave. Let me offer a different image. Imagine a magnificent, hand-carved wooden bowl, polished to a deep shine. It is beautiful. But there is a tiny, almost invisible crack along its base. It does not shatter the bowl, but it means the bowl can never truly hold water. It will always, slowly, seep. That subtle, inherent incapacity to fully contain, that constant, gentle sense of leakage, is closer to the heart of dukkha. It is the fundamental unsatisfactoriness woven into the fabric of conditioned existence. It is in the sharp pain of loss, yes. But it is also in the quiet ache after a peak of happiness, the whisper that says, "Is this all?" It is the friction between our deep desire for things to be solid, stable, and lasting, and the reality that everything is in a state of fluid, endless change. I remember a personal story from years ago. I was walking in an ancient forest after a rainfall. The air was cool and clean, smelling of wet earth and pine. Sunlight broke through the canopy in perfect, dusty shafts, illuminating a single spiderweb beaded with 1,000 tiny rainbows. In that moment, my mind went utterly still. A profound peace settled over me, so complete it felt like arriving home after a lifetime of travel. And then, as clear as the light itself, a thought arose, this. I want to live in this feeling forever. If I can just remember this, I will always be at peace. Can you feel that impulse? The desire to capture a perfect, fleeting moment and build a permanent home inside it? Of course, the sun shifted. The rainbows vanished. The chill of the evening arrived. The profound peace dissolved, leaving behind a strange, hollow yearning. The suffering was not in the moment ending. It was in the silent, furious demand my mind had made, that should have lasted. It was real, it was perfect, it should have stayed. I was like someone trying to nail a sunset to the sky. The pain came from my argument with the nature of the sunset itself, which is to change, to fade, to become something else. The Buddha saw that this argument is not an occasional lapse, it is the unexamined mind's constant, exhausting activity. And this, he taught, is the very source of our deepest unease. Now, if this exploration of impermanence and longing speaks to you, I gently invite you to join our community here at Monk's Moon Temple. By subscribing, you are simply placing a gentle marker on your own path of understanding, a quiet reminder to return to this space of reflection. We are grateful to walk alongside you. The Buddha's insight cuts to the core of reality, anicca, impermanence. This is not philosophy, it is observable law. The body you had a decade ago is gone. The thought you just had has vanished. The emotion you felt this morning has transformed. You are a river, not a statue. Life is a process of continuous becoming, not a fixed state of being. We are not solid beings having experiences, we are flowing experiences momentarily believing ourselves to be solid. And here, the Buddha made the pivotal connection. He taught that whatever is impermanent is, by its nature, unsatisfactory when clung to as permanent. Dukkha is the tension between the river's flow and our desperate attempt to build a dam. We construct identities, relationships, and achievements on the riverbank, believing them to be eternal foundations, and we are bewildered when the current carries them away. We blame the river. But the problem is not the river. The problem is our demand that it be something other than a river. This demand has a name, tanha. It is often called craving, but think of it as a deep, psychic thirst. It is the mind's automatic movement toward what feels pleasant with a whisper of more, forever, and its automatic recoil from what feels unpleasant with a shout of never, again. Tanha is the mechanism of our suffering. It is my heart's command that the forest moment never end. It is the second noble truth, the cause of dukkha is found within our own patterned reactions. The Buddha, with unerring kindness, did not leave us with a problem. He pointed directly to its source within us, and in that pointing, the possibility of freedom was born. Let's explore this thirst, this tanha, not as an abstract idea, but as a force we encounter in the quiet and chaos of our daily lives. It operates in the realm of our senses, what the Buddha called the 6 sense doors. Through sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thought, the entire world of experience arrives. And at each door, if we are not mindful, tanha is born, weaving dukkha from the raw material of the present moment. Consider a simple, everyday example. You take a sip of perfectly brewed tea. The warmth, the aroma, the slight sweetness on your tongue, it's pleasant. Contact. Feeling. Then, almost instantly, the mind's machinery engages. A subtle thought, this is good. Then, a whisper, I want another sip. I want this feeling to continue through my whole morning. I should buy more of this tea so I can always have it. The experience itself was a simple, fleeting sensation. But tanha steps in and tries to project it into the future, to claim it, to make a permanent fixture from a transient taste. Conversely, you hear a distant, repetitive noise, construction, perhaps. Contact. Feeling, irritation. Then, the machinery, this is awful. Then, the push, I wish it would stop. Why is this happening to me? I need silence to be at peace. The suffering here is not truly in the sound waves, but in our vehement demand for them to cease, in our story that peace is impossible until they do. The Buddha's path invites us to insert a moment of space between the contact and the craving. It is in that space that freedom breathes. I recall a man who used to visit the temple grounds, a brilliant and troubled architect. He was obsessed with designing the perfect, timeless home. A structure that would be a refuge from the world's chaos, a permanent statement of harmony. He would bring me sketches of serene, minimalist spaces. Here, he'd say, pointing to a render of a sunlit courtyard, nothing will change. The light will be controlled. The materials will not age. It will be a capsule of perfect stillness. He worked tirelessly, but his own life was a storm of anxiety and dissatisfaction. His current apartment was never clean enough, quiet enough, ordered enough to allow him to work. He was waiting for the perfect, permanent conditions to arise before he could live his life. He was suffering not from the imperfections of his current space, but from his immense, burning thirst for an impossible, static perfection. He was trying to design a building that would defy the law of impermanence, and in the process, he was making his present moment a prison of not yet. His thirst for a future paradise was draining the life from his present reality. This is a key insight. Tanha is not just for pleasures, it is also for states of being, for ideals, for how we believe life should be. We crave not just objects, but permanent security, permanent recognition, permanent peace of mind. We thirst for the mirage of a finished self in a finished world. And because the world and the self are inherently unfinished, inherently in process, this thirst can never be quenched by the conditions we chase. Now, let us look at a different facet of dukkha, one that is often hidden within our happiest moments. The Buddha spoke of the dukkha of change. This occurs when a pleasant condition, which we have clung to as a source of happiness, inevitably alters. The suffering here is not in the initial pleasure, but in the shock and loss we feel when it leaves. It reveals that our happiness was contingent, fragile, and built upon an unstable foundation. I once knew a woman, a celebrated dancer. For years, her identity and joy were fused with the agility and strength of her body, with the roar of the crowd, with the perfect execution of a movement. She lived for the peak moments of performance, where time seemed to stop. She craved those peaks, believing they were her true self. Then, an injury, not catastrophic but decisive, ended her career at its height. The physical pain was one thing. The deeper agony was the collapse of her world. "Who am I now?" she would ask, lost in a profound grief. "The best part of me is gone forever." Her suffering was the dukkha of change in its most acute form. She had mistaken a changing, conditioned phenomenon, her performing body and the applause it could generate, for a permanent source of self and satisfaction. When it changed, as all things must, it felt like a death. The tragedy was not the injury, but the prior investment of her entire sense of being into something that was, by nature, impermanent. Her thirst had been for a self defined by fleeting peaks, and when the peaks ended, she felt she had nothing left. The Buddha's teaching gently asks us, what if we appreciated the dance without believing it to be the dancer? What if we enjoyed the applause without believing it defined our worth? This is the path of non-identification, of appreciating experiences without claiming them as the bedrock of who we are. This leads us to a more subtle, pervasive layer of dukkha, the dukkha of conditioned states. This is the intrinsic stress of simply having a body and mind that are dependently arisen, that require constant maintenance, and that are subject to decay. Even when we are not in acute pain or emotional distress, there is a low-level hum of vulnerability, of need. We get hungry, we eat, and hunger returns. We get tired, we sleep, and fatigue gathers again. A moment of contentment is subtly shadowed by the knowledge that it will pass. We are like exquisite, self-tuning instruments that constantly fall out of tune simply by being played. This is not a fault, it is the nature of all conditioned things. To expect a physical body or a thinking mind to provide permanent, flawless ease is to ask a leaf not to wither. This inherent precariousness, this lack of ultimate control, is a foundational flavor of dukkha. It is the gentle, constant seepage from the wooden bowl. The promise of the Buddha's teaching is not that this conditionality ends. The body will still age. Feelings will still arise and pass. The promise is that our relationship to this conditionality can be utterly transformed. We can learn to put down the exhausting project of demanding that the leaf never wither, that the instrument never go out of tune. We can learn to hear the hum of vulnerability not as a threat, but as the very song of being alive, transient, and free. Let us now turn our gaze inward, to the very place where we often believe our solid self resides. The Buddha's teaching on anatta, or not self, is not a cold denial of your existence. It is a liberating invitation to investigate what you truly are. We suffer greatly because we take this flowing, conditioned collection of processes, body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, and we clutch it tightly, calling it me and mine. We build a fortress around it and then spend our lives defending this fortress against the inevitable sieges of change, criticism, and loss. Dukkha is the strain of being the perpetual, anxious defender of a kingdom that was never truly solid to begin with. Think of your sense of self not as a castle, but as a river delta. Many streams, of memories, thoughts, bodily sensations, social roles, flow together, creating a constantly shifting, interconnected landscape. From a distance, it looks like a single, defined landmass, me. But up close, you see it is entirely composed of moving water and settling silt. No single stream is the delta. The delta is the temporary, dynamic pattern they all create together. To claim one stream, a painful memory, a treasured skill, a fading beauty, as the essential you, is to mistake a single current for the whole vast, changing formation. And when that stream dries up or changes course, you feel you are being destroyed, when in truth, the delta is simply rearranging itself, as it always does. I remember a student who came to the temple, a man who had built a powerful identity as a problem solver, the one everyone leaned on. He wore this fixer self like a suit of armor. It gave him purpose and respect. But when a series of events unfolded in his family that he was utterly powerless to fix, a complex, unfolding tragedy, his world crumbled. He fell into a deep depression. "I am nothing," he would say. "If I can't fix this, then who am I?" His suffering was immense. It was the suffering of anatta in full view. He had identified so completely with the fixer role that when life presented an unfixable situation, it felt like his very core had been annihilated. The dukkha came from the collapse of a constructed self, a self that was too small and rigid to contain the vast, unpredictable reality of life. The Buddha's teaching would offer him a profound kindness: you are not the fixer. You are the awareness that knows the desire to fix, the pain of failure, the love for your family. That awareness is vast enough to hold it all without breaking. This relates directly to tanha, our thirst. Much of our craving is not just for pleasant things, but for things that reinforce this sense of a solid, continuous, and worthy me. We crave success to be a successful person. We crave love to be a lovable person. We crave stability to be a stable person. We are using the conditions of the world to build and repair the walls of our self-fortress. And because conditions are impermanent, the fortress is always, secretly, crumbling. The thirst is endless because the building project is fundamentally flawed. The peace we seek lies in stepping out of the role of architect and builder altogether, and simply resting as the open space in which the river delta flows. Let me share an original story. There was a master weaver in a village known for its magnificent tapestries. She could weave images so lifelike they seemed to breathe. Her greatest pride was a tapestry depicting a glorious, ancient tree, its roots deep and branches wide. She called it the Eternal Self. People traveled to see it. Over decades, however, the threads began to fray. Colors faded. The weaver, now old, was horrified. She spent her days in a frenzy of repair, using new threads that never quite matched the old. The tapestry became a patchwork of her desperation, losing its original grandeur. She guarded it night and day, fearing its final disintegration. One night, exhausted, she fell into a deep sleep by her loom. A storm blew the window open, and a gust of wind took the tapestry, carrying it out into the night. She awoke to find it gone. After a moment of panic, a strange calm descended. She looked at her empty loom. For the first time in decades, she saw not a loss, but a space of pure potential. She was free. She had been enslaved to preserving an image of permanence, and the wind of impermanence had, ironically, liberated her. Her eternal self was always just threads. The real tragedy was her lifetime of fear and toil spent clinging to them. Her true self was not in the tapestry, but in the capacity to weave, and to let go. This is the movement from identification to observation. The Buddha's path trains us to see the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, not as self, but as impermanent, unsatisfactory, and coreless processes. This is not me. This is not mine. This is not myself. This is not a mantra of rejection, but one of profound disidentification. When a painful feeling arises, instead of thinking, "I am sad," and building a story around it, we can note, there is sadness. We create space. The sadness is a weather pattern in the sky of awareness. It is not the sky itself. This shift in perspective is revolutionary. It does not eliminate pain, but it removes the second layer of suffering, the suffering of believing, "I am this pain." Now, let's weave this understanding back into the fabric of daily life, into our relationships. Often, we enter relationships with a deep, unspoken project, to use the other person to complete our sense of self. We hand them a blueprint: "Please, love me in this way, so I can feel like a lovable person. Support me in this way, so I can feel like a successful person. Never change, so I can feel secure." This is a tremendous, invisible burden to place on another human being. It is tanha in the guise of love. When they inevitably fail to fulfill our blueprint, because they are a living, changing river delta themselves, we feel betrayed. We think, "You are not who I thought you were," when the truth is, we were asking them to be a static character in the story of our solid self. True companionship on the Buddha's path looks different. It is the courage to say, "I do not know who you will be tomorrow, and you do not know who I will be. But I promise to meet you there, in that unknown space, with kindness and attention." It is appreciating the other as a flowing process, not a finished product. It is loving the stream without demanding it stop flowing to suit our thirst. This love, free of the craving to possess and fix, is both more realistic and more deeply peaceful. We have been exploring the landscape of dukkha, tanha, and anatta, seeing how our thirst for permanence in an impermanent world, and our identification with a fluid self, creates the subtle and acute strains of life. Now, let us turn to the path out of this ancient dilemma. The Buddha did not leave us with a problem. After his profound diagnosis, he offered the prescription, the fourth noble truth, the path leading to the cessation of dukkha. This is the Noble Eightfold Path. It is not a linear ladder to climb, but a set of 8 interconnected factors to cultivate simultaneously, like tuning the strings of an instrument so they create a single, harmonious chord. This chord is a life of wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental clarity. The path is divided into 3 essential trainings: wisdom, panna, ethical conduct, sila, and mental discipline, samadhi. Let's begin with the foundation, sila, or ethical conduct. This is comprised of right speech, right action, and right livelihood. In the context of our deep exploration, sila is not a set of commandments from an external authority. It is the practical, tangible way we begin to reduce the harm we cause to ourselves and others, thereby creating a container of peace necessary for deeper insight. When we act unethically, through harsh speech, dishonesty, harming living beings, taking what is not given, or engaging in sexual misconduct, we are actively fueling the fires of craving, aversion, and delusion. We create waves of disturbance in our own minds and in the world, which then reverberate back to us as more dukkha. Sila is the conscious decision to stop throwing fuel on the fire. Think of your life as a garden. The unwholesome seeds of greed, hatred, and ignorance are already in the soil. Unethical actions are like watering those specific seeds. They grow into thick, thorny weeds that choke the space and block the light. Right action, speech, and livelihood are the conscious choice to stop watering the weeds. It is the practice of restraint, not out of fear, but out of understanding. When I speak harshly, I cultivate anger in myself and plant seeds of hurt in another. I am adding to the collective dukkha. This creates a cooler, clearer mental environment. The garden becomes less hostile, more still. This stillness is not the end goal, but the fertile ground in which the seeds of wisdom can sprout. I recall a businessman who began visiting the temple. He was successful but perpetually agitated, his life a series of high-stakes negotiations where winning often meant shading the truth or exploiting a weakness. He came because he was exhausted by his own constant tension. I didn't speak to him of lofty truths at first. I simply suggested a 1-week experiment in absolute truthfulness in his speech, even in small things, and a conscious avoidance of any business action that would cause clear, direct harm to another. He was skeptical but desperate. The first few days were terrifying for him. He felt vulnerable, at a disadvantage. But by the end of the week, he reported something unexpected. "The mental noise has gone down," he said. "The constant calculation of what can I get away with has quieted. I'm sleeping better." His garden was being weeded. The simple, deliberate practice of sila was beginning to lower the temperature of his inner world, creating the first conditions for peace. He was beginning to see that his unethical actions weren't just business, they were the very source of his own relentless inner strife. From this foundation of ethical calm, we can more clearly develop panna, or wisdom. This is comprised of right view and right intention. Right view is the understanding of the 4 noble truths themselves. It is seeing life through the lens of dukkha, its cause in tanha, its cessation, and the path thereto. It is replacing our default, deluded view. That lasting happiness can be found in acquiring, achieving, and becoming, with this liberating framework. Right intention is the commitment that flows from this view, the intention of renunciation, letting go of craving, the intention of goodwill, letting go of ill will, and the intention of harmlessness, letting go of cruelty. Right view is the map. Right intention is the decision to follow it. Together, they guide everything else. Without this wisdom, our ethical conduct can become rigid and joyless, and our meditation can become just another project of self-improvement fueled by subtle craving. With this wisdom, every act of restraint, every moment of mindfulness, becomes a step toward freedom. Imagine you are navigating a dense, foggy forest at night, desperate to get out. You are tired, scared, and you keep tripping over roots and running into trees. This is life lived without right view. Then, someone gives you a simple map and a compass. The map is the Four Noble Truths. The compass is your intention to be free. The forest is still dark, the terrain is still challenging, but now you have direction. You understand that the roots and trees are part of the forest, dukkha, that your panic and frantic running are making it worse, tanha, and that there is a way out, the path. This understanding itself brings an immediate, initial calm. You are no longer blindly lost. You have oriented yourself toward liberation. The final training is samadhi, or mental discipline, comprised of right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This is the cultivation of the mind itself. Right effort is the energy we apply, to prevent unwholesome states from arising, to abandon them once they have arisen, to cultivate wholesome states, and to maintain them. It is the diligent gardening. Right mindfulness, sati, is the clear, non-judgmental awareness of the present moment, of body, feelings, mind, and mental objects. It is the light we shine on the garden, so we can see clearly what is growing. Right concentration, samadhi, is the development of a calm, focused, unified mind, often through sustained attention on a single object, like the breath. Mindfulness is the heart of this training. It is the practice of presence that allows us to see the arising of tanha in real time. Without mindfulness, we are perpetually hijacked by our cravings and aversions, living on autopilot. With mindfulness, we see the itch before we scratch, the urge before we act, the story before we believe it. In that sacred pause, choice becomes possible. Let us dwell now in the heart of the practice, mindfulness and concentration. These are not exotic states reserved for caves and mountaintops. They are skills of attention, muscles of the mind that we can strengthen here, in the midst of our ordinary lives. They are the practical tools that allow the wisdom of the Four Noble Truths to move from an intellectual concept to a lived, embodied freedom. Right effort is the first step in this mental training. It is the energy we bring to the work of the mind. The Buddha outlined 4 applications of right effort, which are like the 4 tasks of a gardener tending to the soil of consciousness. 1. To prevent unwholesome states, like greed, hatred, and delusion, from arising. 2. To abandon them once they have arisen. 3. To cultivate wholesome states, like generosity, loving-kindness, and wisdom. 4. To maintain and perfect these wholesome states once they have arisen. This effort is not a forceful, white-knuckled striving. It is more like the steady, patient attention of a shepherd. When you see a wolf, an unwholesome thought of jealousy, for instance, approaching the flock, your peaceful mind, you don't ignore it, nor do you attack it in a rage. You simply recognize it, and with a firm, gentle presence, you guide it away from the flock. You protect the space. Conversely, when you see a lost lamb of kindness or compassion, you gently encourage it, bring it into the fold, and make sure it has grass and water so it will stay and grow strong. Right effort is this protective, nurturing quality of awareness. It is the decision, moment by moment, to tend to the quality of your inner world. This work requires the light of right mindfulness, sati. Mindfulness is the clear, non-judgmental awareness of what is happening in the present moment. The Buddha taught the four foundations of mindfulness: mindfulness of the body, of feelings, of the mind, and of mental objects, dhammas. We start with the body because it is always here, in the present. The breath is the anchor. Can you feel the coolness of the air at the tip of your nostrils on the in-breath? The slight warmth on the out-breath? The gentle rise and fall of the abdomen? This is not about controlling the breath, but simply knowing it. When the mind wanders, which it will, 1,000 times, gently note wandering, and return to the breath. This simple act is the fundamental training of mindfulness. Mindfulness of feelings is observing the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral tone of each experience without immediately getting swept into craving or aversion. Ah, a pleasant feeling has arisen. An unpleasant feeling is here. You are learning to see feelings as feelings, not as commands. Mindfulness of the mind is noticing the states of mind themselves. The mind is greedy. The mind is angry. The mind is concentrated. The mind is scattered. You are learning to see the mind's weather patterns without believing you are the weather. Mindfulness of mental objects is observing the coming and going of thoughts, perceptions, and the very principles of the Dhamma itself. This is where you see impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self in action, in real time. I remember a woman who came to the temple, a writer plagued by paralyzing self-doubt. Her mind was a storm of critical thoughts. This is terrible. You have nothing to say. Everyone will see you're a fraud. She believed these thoughts completely, and so she could not write. I asked her to try a simple mindfulness practice. For 1 week, she was not to write at all. Instead, for 20 minutes a day, she was to sit and simply observe these thoughts. Not argue with them, not believe them, just note them, thinking, judging, fearing. She was to treat them like cars passing outside her window, notable, but not requiring her to run outside and chase them. At first, it was agony. The thoughts felt urgent and true. But slowly, a space opened up. She reported, I heard the thought, you're a fraud, and for the first time, I also heard the silence around it. The thought was loud, but it wasn't the only thing in the room. She had begun to disentangle her awareness from the content of her mind. The thoughts didn't vanish, but their power to imprison her began to wane. This is the power of mindfulness. It creates a witnessing presence that is larger than the phenomena it witnesses. From the steady, moment-to-moment awareness of mindfulness, we can develop right concentration, samadhi. This is the unification of the mind, the gathering of scattered mental energy into a single, calm, potent point. It is developed through sustained attention on a single object, often the breath, but it could be a phrase of loving kindness, a visual object, or the flow of bodily sensations. As you gently return your attention, again and again, the mind's chatter begins to settle. The usual pull of the senses softens. A deep, tranquil stillness emerges. This is not a state of blankness, but of heightened, serene alertness. The mind becomes like a still, clear mountain lake, reflecting the sky without distortion. This concentrated mind is not the goal in itself. It is the sharpened tool. A mind that is scattered and turbulent cannot see things as they are. It is like trying to look at the reflection of the moon in a choppy, wind-blown pond. You get only fragments and distortions. But when the waters of the mind are stilled through concentration, wisdom can see its own reflection clearly. In the deep calm of samadhi, the insights of impermanence, suffering, and not-self are no longer theories, they become direct, experiential knowing. You see the rising and passing of phenomena with the clarity of watching bubbles form and pop on the surface of that still lake. You understand viscerally that nothing within this field of experience is fit to be called me or mine. Together, mindfulness and concentration are the two wings that carry the bird of wisdom to liberation. Mindfulness provides the clear seeing in all postures and activities. Concentration provides the depth and power to penetrate the deepest truths. They are cultivated in formal sitting, but also in walking, in eating, in listening. They are the art of being fully present for your one, precious, fleeting life. We have gathered the tools, mindfulness and concentration, and now we must learn to use them in the very place where dukkha is generated, in the chain of our own experience. The Buddha provided a magnificent and precise map of this process called dependent origination, paticca samuppada. This teaching describes 12 linked factors that show how ignorance leads to suffering, and how, by removing ignorance, the entire chain of suffering can come to an end. It is the detailed mechanics of the Four Noble Truths. To understand it is to see the very engine of samsara, the cycle of birth and death, of suffering and stress, and to find its off switch. The chain is often described as unfolding over lifetimes, but we can see it spin in every moment of our daily experience. It begins, not with a god or a cosmic event, but with avijja, ignorance. This is not a lack of information, but a fundamental misperception of reality. It is ignorance of the Four Noble Truths. It is the failure to see things as they are, impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. From this root ignorance, everything else follows. Out of ignorance come sankharas, volitional formations or karmic activities. These are the intentional thoughts, words, and deeds that are tinged with craving, aversion, or delusion. Because we do not see clearly, we act in ways that plant seeds for future experience. These sankharas then condition vijnana, consciousness, specifically the consciousness that descends into a new moment of experience, carrying with it the momentum of past karma. This consciousness then conditions namarupa. Mind and body, the psychophysical organism that arises in dependence on consciousness. This mind-body complex then gives rise to the salayatana, the 6 sense bases, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. With the sense bases established, phassa, contact, occurs between a sense base, a sense object, and the corresponding consciousness. From contact arises vedana, feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And here, at feeling, is where the crucial pivot happens. This is the fork in the road. If mindfulness is absent, what arises next is tanha, craving. Pleasant feeling. Craving for it to continue. Unpleasant feeling. Craving for it to cease. This is the moment we grasp or push away, the moment we add fuel to the fire. From tanha springs upadana, clinging or grasping. We don't just crave, we latch on. We cling to sensory pleasures, to views, to rituals, and to the idea of a permanent self. This clinging then sets in motion bhava. The process of becoming, the strong inclination toward a particular kind of future existence, be it in a moment, a mood, or a lifetime. This becoming leads to jati, birth, the arising of a new instance of suffering, a new identity, a new problem. And with birth comes jara marana, aging and death, and the whole mass of sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. See how this plays out in a simple, modern moment. You are working quietly, a neutral feeling. A notification pops up on your phone, a social media like, contact via the mind sense. A pleasant feeling arises, Vedana. Ignorant of its impermanent nature, and without mindfulness, craving, tanha, instantly whispers, more validation. Check it again. You cling to that pleasant feeling, upadana, and pick up the phone, scrolling, bhava, becoming a scroller. This births, jati, a new state, distraction, comparison, perhaps anxiety. This state ages and dies, jaramarana. Into frustration when you realize you've wasted time. A whole cycle of suffering, born from ignorance at the feeling stage. The beauty of the Buddha's teaching is that this chain can be broken. The cure is applied at the same point the disease takes hold, at the link between feeling and craving. This is where right mindfulness does its revolutionary work. When a pleasant feeling arises, mindfulness sees it clearly, pleasant feeling. With clear comprehension, wisdom knows. This is pleasant, but it is impermanent. It is not me. It is not mine. In that space of knowing, craving is not given the fuel to ignite. The chain is interrupted. The feeling simply arises and passes away without starting the whole cascade of clinging, becoming, and suffering. The same is true for unpleasant feelings. Mindfulness sees the pain, wisdom understands its nature, and instead of the automatic, blind push of aversion, one can respond with compassion or wise action, free from the compulsive need for the feeling to disappear. Let me illustrate with a story. A man I knew was a dedicated athlete, but he had a terrible relationship with pain. The moment a training session became difficult and unpleasant feelings arose, Vedana, his mind would instantly erupt with craving for them to stop, tanha. This craving manifested as a storm of angry, resistant thoughts, upadana, this is terrible. I hate this. Why am I doing this? His workouts were a misery of mental struggle against physical sensation. I suggested he try a different approach. The next time the burning in his muscles arose, instead of fighting it, he was to simply bring a gentle, curious mindfulness to the exact physical sensations. To note burning, tightness, throbbing as pure sensation, without the story of, I hate this. He reported back, amazed. The pain was still there, he said. But the suffering was gone. It was just sensation. When I stopped arguing with it, my mind became quiet, and I could even keep going longer. He had inserted mindfulness between feeling and craving. He broke the chain. The physical Vedana no longer automatically triggered the mental jati of angry resistance and suffering. This is the profound promise of the Buddha's path. We are not doomed to be puppets of our feelings. We are not victims of an unbreakable cycle. Through the diligent cultivation of mindfulness and wisdom, we can, at every moment, choose not to pour the water of craving on the seeds of feeling. We can let the chain of suffering starve, link by link, until it falls apart completely. This is how suffering ceases. This is Nirodha. This is the end of the thirst. Let us now explore what happens when the chain of suffering is consistently interrupted, when the fires of craving begin to cool. This is the territory of the third noble truth, Nirodha, the the cessation of dukkha. It is not annihilation, not a blank nothingness. It is the unraveling of a knot, the ending of a fever, the settling of churned water into profound clarity. It is the peace that emerges when the war with what is finally comes to an end. This peace, however, is not a single, distant peak to be reached someday. The Buddha's path reveals it as a series of gradual deepenings, stages of awakening that are both a purification of the mind and a radical reorientation of one's entire being. These are the stages of enlightenment: stream entry, once returning, non-returning, and full enlightenment, arahantship. These are not badges of rank, but descriptions of freedom from specific fetters, the deep-seated chains that bind us to the wheel of suffering. The first glimmer of unshakable liberation is stream entry. At this stage, 3 of the 10 fetters are completely destroyed: identity view, doubt in the Buddha's teaching, and clinging to rites and rituals. The stream enterer has seen Nibbana, the unconditioned, for the first time. This is not a theoretical understanding, but a direct, transformative experience of something beyond all conditioned phenomena. The result is unshakable confidence in the 3 jewels: the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. More importantly, the stream enterer is now irreversibly on the path. They are in the stream that flows surely to the ocean of Nibbana. They may have many lifetimes ahead, but they will never again be capable of falling back into the lower realms of existence or of denying the fundamental truths of the path. Their suffering is drastically reduced because the illusion of a solid, permanent self has been shattered. They know, directly, that they are not the aggregates. I knew a man, a rigorous scientist, who came to meditation with deep skepticism. He approached it as a neurological experiment. For years, his practice was dry and analytical. Then, during a long, silent retreat, while simply observing the rising and falling of breath sensations with intense precision, something shifted. He later described it not as a vision or a voice, but as a cataclysmic collapse of the observer. The sense of him observing the breath dissolved. There was just the knowing, and the known, without a center, without a seam. In that moment, a lifetime of intellectual doubt about self vaporized. It wasn't a belief, it was a seeing. When he returned, he was a changed man. Not ecstatic, but profoundly quiet and certain. The anxious need to prove his intellect, to defend his identity, had simply fallen away. He had tasted the stream. He said to me, "It's like I spent my life studying maps of water, and for one instant, I became the ocean." You can't doubt the ocean once you've been it. He had entered the stream. As practice continues, more subtle fetters are worn away. The once returner has weakened the fetters of sensual desire and ill will to a significant degree. They will return to this sense world only one more time. The non-returner has completely eradicated those 2 fetters. They will never again return to the human realm or any other sensuous existence. Upon death, they are reborn in a pure, mental realm where they attain final nibbana. Finally, there is arahantship, the goal of the path. The arahant has destroyed the 5 higher fetters: craving for fine material existence, craving for immaterial existence, conceit, restlessness, and ignorance. They have fully extinguished the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. They live in the world, but they are free from the world. They feel physical pain but not mental suffering. They experience pleasant and unpleasant feelings, but no craving arises from them. For them, The chain of dependent origination has been broken at its root. Ignorance is gone. With no ignorance, no volitional formations are created for a future. They are like a lamp that burns without oil. When the present body and mind dissolve, no new becoming takes place. This is parinibbana. The final, total extinguishing, the end of all conditioned existence and stress. What does this freedom look like in life? It is not a state of perpetual bliss or supernatural power. It is the ultimate normalcy, a heart so free from bias and distortion that it meets each moment with perfect appropriateness. The arahant's actions are spontaneous expressions of wisdom and compassion, untainted by any personal agenda. Their mind is like a clear mirror, reflecting everything perfectly, clinging to nothing. Let me share a parable. There was an old master painter who, after a life of creating stunning works, lost his eyesight. His students were heartbroken for him, thinking his life's passion was over. But the old master took up a new practice. He would sit in his garden and ask his students to describe a scene to him in minute detail. The way the light fell on a specific leaf, the exact curve of a petal, the play of shadow on stone. Then, in his mind, he would paint it. He never lifted a brush again, but his students said he described these mental paintings with a beauty and vividness that surpassed his old physical works. He had moved from painting the world to being the awareness in which the world, in all its detail, arose and was known. He was no longer identified with the hand that held the brush, the doer, but was at peace as the boundless space of seeing itself. This is an echo of the arahant's freedom. They are no longer identified with the actor in the play of life, but rest as the unconditional awareness that knows the play. The play continues, the body acts, the mind thinks, but there is no one inside claiming it. This may seem distant, unimaginable. But the Buddha's gift is the assurance that this freedom is possible, and that the path to it is gradual, logical, and open to anyone who walks it with sincerity. Every moment of mindfulness, every act of letting go, every breath of patience, is a step along this ancient road. You are not asked to believe in a far-off heaven, but to verify, through your own direct experience, the truth of release here and now. Our journey has taken us from the diagnosis of our shared human condition to the detailed map for its cure. We have explored the terrain of the mind, the mechanics of suffering, and the stages of release. Now, let us bring this understanding home, into the very heart of a human life. How does the Buddha's path manifest not in the quiet of the meditation hall, but in the messy, beautiful, challenging theater of our relationships, our work, and our place in the world? This is the path of Brahmaviharas, the sublime abidings, and right livelihood, the embodiment of wisdom in action. The Brahmaviharas are four boundless states of heart: loving kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, sympathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha. They are called sublime abidings, because they are the mind's most beautiful and peaceful dwellings. They are not mere emotions, but intentional attitudes we cultivate through meditation and radiate outward without limit. They are the natural expression of a heart that is freeing itself from the confines of self-view. Metta is the radiant wish for happiness and well-being for all beings, without exception. It begins with yourself, for how can you genuinely wish for others what you cannot wish for yourself? It then extends to a benefactor, a neutral person, a difficult person, and finally, to all beings in all directions. Metta meditation is the mental repetition of phrases like, may I be safe, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease. This is not a hollow affirmation, but a powerful tool to soften the heart's boundaries, to dissolve the illusion of separation. When you are filled with metta, there is no room for ill will. You see others not as obstacles to your happiness, but as fellow travelers who, like you, wish to be free from suffering. Karuna is the heart's quivering response to suffering. It is the wish for beings to be free from their pain. It is not pity, which carries a sense of separation and superiority. True compassion is grounded in the recognition of shared vulnerability. It arises from the understanding, this being, like me, is subject to old age, sickness, and death. Like me, they experience loss and fear. From this shared ground, compassion seeks to alleviate suffering through wise and skillful action, not through empathic overwhelm. Mudita is the antidote to envy and resentment. It is appreciative joy at the success and happiness of others. In a world conditioned by comparison and scarcity, mudita is a revolutionary act. It is the ability to feel genuine delight when a colleague gets a promotion, a friend finds love, or even a stranger experiences good fortune. It springs from a heart that is so secure in its own well-being that it does not see another's joy as a diminishment of its own. It understands that happiness is not a finite pie, but a quality that can be infinitely shared. Finally, upekkha is equanimity, a balanced, unshakable peace. It is not indifference or cold detachment. It is the profound understanding that all beings are the owners of their own karma. We can offer metta, karuna, and mudita, but we cannot control the outcomes of others' lives. Upekkha is the wisdom that allows us to care deeply without clinging to results, to love without possessing, to help without imposing. It is the calm, clear space in which the other three abidings can operate without burning out. Cultivating these four is the practice of right intention made manifest in the emotional world. They transform our relationships from being fields of need and expectation into gardens of mutual growth and respect. Now, let us consider right livelihood, an essential part of the Noble Eightfold Path. This is the principle that our work should not cause harm, should support our spiritual development, and should contribute to the welfare of others. The Buddha explicitly advised against trades in weapons, living beings, including slavery and animal husbandry for slaughter, meat production, poisons, and intoxicants. In a modern context, we can reflect more broadly. Does my work increase the net suffering in the world? Does it feed greed, hatred, or delusion in myself or others? Does it leave me with the mental and energetic resources to practice, or does it exhaust and embitter me? Right livelihood is an expression of ethical conduct, in the economic sphere. It recognizes that we cannot compartmentalize our lives. If we spend 8 hours a day engaged in an activity that harms or deceives, that violence and deceit will seep into our hearts and minds, undermining any peace we try to cultivate on the meditation cushion. Conversely, work that is honest, helpful, and done with a spirit of service becomes a field for practicing mindfulness, generosity, and patience. I think of a woman, a former high-powered corporate lawyer whose specialty was aggressive mergers that often resulted in significant layoffs. She was successful, wealthy, and deeply unhappy. She described feeling a constant, low-grade shame, a sense of being soiled. After encountering the Dhamma, she made a radical change. She retrained as a mediator, specializing in helping families and small businesses resolve conflicts without going to court. Her income dropped dramatically, but so did her inner conflict. She told me, before, I was paid to see people as problems to be eliminated. Now, I am paid to see them as human beings to be understood. My work now feels like an extension of my meditation, a practice in listening without judgment. Her shift in livelihood was a direct application of right view and right intention. It aligned her outer actions with her inner values, creating a life of integrity where her profession no longer generated dukkha for herself or others. The path of the Buddha is not a retreat from the world, but a transformation of our way of being in the world. Through the Brahmaviharas, we learn to meet all beings, friends, strangers, and adversaries, with a heart of boundless friendliness. Through right livelihood, we ensure our survival in a way that honors life and supports our deepest purpose. This integrated practice weaves the threads of wisdom, ethics, and meditation into a single, seamless robe of peaceful and purposeful living. We have walked through the principles and practices, the maps and the methods. Now, let us sit quietly with the ultimate aim of it all, the ground of being that the Buddha called nibbana, or nirvana. This word is often shrouded in mystery, imagined as a heavenly paradise or a state of blissful oblivion. But in the Buddha's teaching, nibbana is the most real thing there is. It is not a place you go, but a truth you realize. It is the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. It is the permanent liberation of the heart from the constraints of craving. It is the deathless, the unconditioned, the ultimate peace. Understanding nibbana requires us to think in terms of negatives, not because it is a void, but because our language is built for the world of conditioned things. We can describe a tree by its leaves, branches, and color. But how do you describe the space in which the tree exists? Nibbana is like that space. Not a thing itself, but the unconditioned reality that allows all conditioned things to arise and cease. It is known not by adding something to your experience, but by the cessation of something, the cessation of craving, the cessation of ignorance, the cessation of the entire mass of suffering. The Buddha used many metaphors to point toward this reality. He called it the far shore, contrasting it with the near shore of our familiar, burning world of samsara. He called it the cool, contrasting it with the fever of craving. He said it was like the putting out of a lamp, the fuel of craving is gone, and the flame of suffering simply ceases. Importantly, nibbana is not the annihilation of a self, because from the ultimate perspective, there never was a solid self to annihilate. It is the final seeing through of the illusion, after which the heart can no longer be fooled or bound. There are, in the tradition, two aspects of nibbana experienced in life. The first is nibbana with residue. This is the enlightenment of the arahant who is still alive. The residue is the remaining life of this body and mind, which operates due to past karma but creates no new karma. The arahant experiences the five aggregates. They feel hunger, see sights, think thoughts, but they do not cling to any of it as I or mine. For them, the aggregates are like borrowed tools. They use them to function in the world, but there is no sense of ownership. They have touched the deathless, and they live from that place of freedom, their hearts utterly free from future becoming. The second is nibbana without residue, or paranibbana, which occurs at the death of the arahant. With the breaking up of the body, the conditioned aggregates cease entirely, with no future rebirth. It is the final, total quenching, like a flame that, having used up all its fuel, goes out and cannot be traced. But let us not think of this as a morbid end. The Buddha spoke of nibbana in the most positive terms as the highest happiness, supreme security, and ultimate freedom. It is the end of all fear, because what is there to fear when there is no longer a me to protect? It is the end of all longing, because the heart has found that which is completely satisfactory. Imagine spending your whole life hearing a faint, dissonant hum in the background of everything. You travel the world trying to escape it, only to find it's always there. Then, one day, it stops. The resulting silence is not an empty nothing, it is a profound, rich peace so complete you realize the hum was the only thing ever wrong. Nibbana is that stopping of the hum of craving. The peace that remains is not created, it was always here, just obscured. This brings us to one of the most beautiful and practical frameworks the Buddha offered, the three characteristics of existence: impermanence, anicca, suffering or unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, and not self, anatta. We have touched on these separately. Now, see them as the three keys that unlock the door to nibbana. They are not philosophical concepts to believe, but realities to see directly through sustained mindfulness. The practice is to contemplate everything that arises. Every sight, sound, thought, feeling, emotion, with this threefold investigation: is this permanent or impermanent? If it is impermanent, and it always is it then fit to be considered a source of lasting happiness, or is it inherently unsatisfactory? And if it is impermanent and unsatisfactory, can it rightly be called me, mine, or myself? You contemplate the pleasant feeling, it arises and passes. It is anicca. Because it passes, it cannot be relied upon for lasting peace. It is dukkha. Therefore, this fleeting, unreliable feeling is not me, not mine, not myself, it is anatta. You contemplate a painful feeling, it too arises and passes, anicca. Clinging to it causes suffering, dukkha. Therefore, it too is not self, anatta. You even contemplate the very mind that is doing the contemplating. It is a stream of changing states, anicca, its nature is to seek and never finally find, dukkha, and there is no permanent controller to be found within it, anatta. This constant, gentle investigation wears away our habits of clinging. We begin to let go not because we are supposed to, but because we see there is literally nothing to hold on to. Everything we try to grasp is like a handful of smoke. When this seeing becomes direct and non-conceptual, the heart naturally inclines toward that which is not smoke, not conditioned, not arising and passing. It inclines toward nibbana. The path, in its entirety, is simply the process of cleaning the lens of the mind so that this ultimate reality can be reflected without distortion. Let me close this part with a simple, original image. Imagine a vast, clear night sky. The stars are the conditioned phenomena of your life, thoughts, feelings, sensations, relationships. They twinkle, they move, they are born and they die. For your whole life, you have believed you are one particular star, and you have been desperately trying to make your star shine brighter, last longer, and not be eclipsed by others. This is samsara, exhausting, fearful, and ultimately impossible. The Buddha's path is the gradual, astonishing realization that you are not the star. You are the sky. The stars arise and pass within you. Some are bright, some are dim, some are pleasant, some are painful. But you are the boundless, silent, aware space that holds them all. Nibbana is the total, joyful relaxation into being the sky itself. It is coming home to what you have always been. As our long exploration draws to a close, let us return to the simplicity of where it all begins and ends, this very moment, just as it is. We have traversed profound landscapes together, the truth of suffering, the cause in our own craving, the possibility of its end, and the path that leads there. We have spoken of ancient maps and sublime abodes. But the entire journey exists for the sake of this single breath, this single heartbeat. The Buddha's teaching is not a monument to be admired from afar, it is a well-worn path to be walked with your own feet, one mindful step at a time. So, what now? The answer is always the same: begin. Begin with gentleness. You do not need to uproot your life. You simply need to turn the light of kind attention toward it. Start with 5 minutes. Sit, stand, or lie down. Feel the weight of your body on the earth, supported. Notice the natural rhythm of your breath, not to control it, but to know it. The cool air entering, the warm air leaving. When your mind wanders into a memory, a plan, or a worry, and it will, 1,000 times, gently note, thinking, or wandering, and return to the breath. This is not a failure. This is the practice. Each return is a repetition of a profound homecoming. In your daily life, choose one ordinary activity, drinking tea, washing a dish, walking to your door, and do it with your full attention. Feel the warmth of the cup, the slide of soap on porcelain, the lift and fall of your foot. When you meet someone, try to truly listen, just for a moment, before your mind formulates a reply. When irritation arises, pause. Feel the heat of it in the body before you speak. In that pause, freedom breathes. This is the path. It is not complicated, but it requires a patience deeper than any mountain. It is the patient repetition of attention, the gentle disentangling from old stories, the courageous willingness to meet joy without clinging and sorrow without fear. You are not alone on this walk. You walk in the footsteps of countless beings who have sought peace. You are supported by the wisdom of the Buddha, the truth of the Dhamma, and the fellowship of the Sangha. Which includes all of us here, listening, practicing, stumbling, and continuing. So, as you move from this space, carry this simple knowing: peace is not a distant prize. It is the nature of a heart that is no longer at war with what is. You can learn to end that war. You can learn to put down the burden of craving. You can discover a stillness that has been within you all along. May the understanding we have shared take root in your heart. May it grow into a tree of wisdom that offers shade and shelter to all you meet. May you walk your path with courage, with kindness, and with an unshakable trust in your own capacity for freedom. Thank you for sharing this time at Monk's Moon Temple. May you be well. May you be peaceful. May you be free.